Big Blue Kickoff Live is presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I am John Schmeelk, joined by Matthew Citak. Hope you guys enjoyed a couple days where you don't have to stress about a Giants game, and instead you can enjoy some NFL football. Though someone that is certainly stressing today is this man next to me, Matthew Citak, who after he decided to get all angry with me, even though I didn't say anything, about the Mets last week, they have proceeded to nosedive, and he is quite nervous about the two baseball games that'll be starting in about a half hour. How you doing, Matt?
I've been better, but hey, we just got to win one of the two.
That's true.
That's what we got to do. So fingers crossed.
Luckily, there is no bad history between the Mets and Braves in big spots. So I think you'll be fine.
Especially clutch situations at the very end of the season. Yeah.
Oh, you got to win one out of two. I think the Mets will be fine, and then you can stress out over the wild card round playoff series, which will start in a couple of days. So
one day at a time.
Hey, I think you'll be thrilled if you had a chance to stress about the wild card round of the playoffs. That'll be great.
If we're playing a game tomorrow, I will be a happy man.
All right, so on today's show, guys, here's what we're going to do. We are going to get Matt's take on the game last Thursday real quick. I don't want to do a whole nother game review deal. You heard my deal on Friday when I was on with Paul. We talked about the game a ton. Same on Big Blue Kickoff Live on Saturday morning on The Fan, which, by the way, guys, it's 7 a.m. It's early on Saturdays. If you guys are up early, you should tune in, and we usually have some open lines too on The Fan. So the phone number is different. It's 888-808-1019. But if our normal BBK crew wants to listen on FAN on Saturday mornings, you can stream it on the Odyssey app. So you should check that out every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. And we'll take your calls there as well. So we want to do a little bit on that game on Thursday because Matt has had a chance to talk about it. I've sat back, I've thought about the game a little bit more too, and then we'll kind of take a look at the Giants and also the rest of the league there's no true quarter season mark anymore because it's a 17-game schedule, but it's as close as we're going to get. So we'll kind of take heed of where the Giants are and maybe some of the surprises around the league too as we head into the end of week number 4 here. And of course, the Giants' next opponent plays tonight, the Seahawks. They have a very big game against the Detroit Lions. So if you're a Giants fan, tune into that. That'll give us some fodder to discuss over the course of this week as the Giants get ready to play one of the only, potentially, we'll see tonight, undefeated teams in the National Football League in their home stadium on Sunday at 4:25. CBS game, by the way. It'll be Tiki Barber and one of the McCourty brothers on the call in that game. So Joby Jason, thank you. I forgot which one. I should remember that. So check that out. So Matt, let's start right now, real quick. As you've had a chance to look back and take a deep breath, your thoughts on the game from Thursday night?
Yeah, so this game was a little frustrating.
That was the exact word I used.
There you go. In the sense that the Giants could have won this game. It was there. A couple of plays go a little differently. The Giants are looking at a 2-2 record going into this week's game in Seattle. I'll try to keep this somewhat brief. First on offense, first of all, Malik Neighbors, still incredible. Currently in the concussion protocol. We have no update. Hopefully he clears in time for Sunday's game. That will be, something we monitor throughout the week. But he is incredible. I think he's already showing that he is a top wide receiver in the NFL, which is crazy to say 4 games into his career, but the numbers prove it. So he's great. The offensive line is playing solid, decently. They're not, struggling. It's not like it was last year. It's not an elite top of the league unit, which is kind of what we were hoping for that it would be.
The pass protection, very good Thursday. The run blocking, obviously not what you want.
Yes, that's what I was going to get into next, in that I have to apologize. I think I put the kibosh on Devin Singletary last week when I said that this was what should be an easy matchup for him, and obviously was not the case.
I spent 2 hours on the pregame show talking about how bad the Cowboys' run defense was, Matt. Don't worry about it. You weren't the only one.
The 2 weeks prior, they got absolutely gashed, and clearly they went into Thursday night saying, we are not going to let the run game beat us, and they didn't.
Then again, after last night, maybe it has more to do with the Ravens than the Cowboys based on what the Ravens did to Buffalo last night.
For sure. But I still, have some confidence in the offense. They seem to be, improving. I know they didn't score a touchdown, obviously, against the Cowboys, and that it's going to be tough to win a game if you don't score a touchdown. It's we all know that. But I think overall as a unit, they seem to be kind of gelling more and improving in small ways, which if they can continue to put it all together, I think we will see the unit take a bigger jump. And I just have to say, Daniel Jones, I thought played pretty well against the Cowboys.
He missed those deep throws in the first half, but otherwise he played extremely well.
Exactly what I was gonna say, and I know some fans out there are gonna freak out about this, but Daniel Jones had a pretty good game. Now, he was unable to hit on the deep throws, and there's no doubt about it. In order to be a successful quarterback and to have a successful offense in the NFL, you need to be able to hit on the deep throws. And he did not do that against the Cowboys. But taking away that one aspect, which again, I will admit, it is a pretty big aspect, but if you take that one part of the game out, the rest of Daniel Jones's game, he was great. He was hitting on all of the, intermediate routes, which he even said to the media, I think after the game, is like, we didn't hit any of the deep routes, but we were hitting a lot of, 10, 15 yarders, which if you look at the stats show that as well. I just want to pull up the numbers here. Intermediate routes, he was 6 for 7 for 98 yards with a 118.8 passer rating.
And my guess is that one incompletion was probably the Darius Slayton drop at the 10-yard line.
Yeah. And again, so the deep throws, 1 for 6, that's not great, but I just wanted to, you got to criticize him when he deserves it and give him some credit when he deserves it as well. And Daniel Jones, again, was not the reason that the Giants lost the game on Thursday night. And then real quick on the defense, Dexter Lawrence, didn't do much in this game, but he was getting double teamed at an insane rate. I think it was the highest double team rate that anyone has ever had in the next gen stats era.
I didn't look at any of the analytics, but rewatching the game, he was double teamed literally every
He was
play.
double teamed on 80%
That sounds
of the
about
plays, and it is the highest double team rate in a game since at least 2018.
Wow. All right.
Any play.
Well, there you have it.
So him not, having much of an impact, I really don't take much from that. Brian Burns also did not, this was the first game according to Next Gen Stats that he did not register a pressure.
Do you want a little rant from me on that?
Do I want to what?
Do you want a little rant from me on that?
Sure.
He had a quarterback hit in the game book. How do you have a quarterback hit in the game book and not have a? That's why you have to be careful with the next gen sometimes, because I went back, I watched the tape. PFF has him for a quarterback hit and a hurry on top of that. I counted another one I could have considered a hurry when I rewatched the game on tape in addition to that. So that's a bogus stat. I don't know how they figure out their pressures and how they do that with their, player tracking, because that's how they do that. They player track how close guys get to the quarterback. So I don't know how, is it like at the time the pass is thrown, how close you are to the quarterback? Is it at any point how close you are to the quarterback? I don't know how they calculate that. But yeah, I did this with Paul on Thursday. There's literally 6-minute mark, I think, in the first quarter. You know how these game books work, Matt. You looked at them a million times. At the 6:26 mark, whose name is in brackets there for a quarterback hit? Brian Burns. Hard to have a quarterback hit and have zero pressures. Just saying. Go ahead.
No, that is very true. And I thought watching the game, I saw the stat on Friday, and I thought, looking back at the game, I'm pretty sure he got close to the quarterback at least a couple of times.
He had another inside move where he forced Dak Prescott to step and roll right and then throw a pass. So I'm not sure how they calculate that.
Me neither, but regardless, all I wanted to bring that up is that...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it is all good. All I wanted to say was that he still, even with this, supposed zero pressure, he still has a very high pressure rate in terms of what he's had for his career. So despite the fact that, we're 4 games in, he only has 1 sack, they're going to come. If he keeps producing and getting the pressures like he has been the first month of the season, I am confident that the sacks will start to come. And especially if Dexter Lawrence continues to get double teamed at that rate like Thursday night, because then he's going to get more and more one-on-one matchups, him and Kayvon, and they will start to produce more. Elsewhere on the defense, Cordell Flott, I thought, had a solid game Thursday night.
I thought he covered Brandon Cooks on those little comeback routes very well.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, he wasn't like a shutdown corner type of night, but he played pretty well, and that was just encouraging to see, because obviously he could play a very big role on the defense for the rest of the season and moving forward. So that was good to see. Overall, again, it's frustrating losing a game like this when you feel like it was like right there for the taking and you were very close to winning the game. Looking at the Giants' record, they're 1-3. This team could easily also be 3-1 if just a few things in this game and the Commanders game go just very slightly differently, which, you know, their record is what it is. You can't go back and change that. They are 1-3 going into week 5, but the way they've been playing, I feel like they've been playing better than a 1-3 team.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, you set it up perfectly, Matt. When we look at this team at the 4-game mark, it's going to look very similar to their record in other seasons at the 4-game mark. But I do feel like this team is playing better football, right? And look, the first week was bad. It was 28-6. Since that, overall, this year, and you know, you guys, I do this consistently every year for all the teams, a number that I think, the simplest number you can look at to show you how well a team is playing is their point differential, right? The Giants right now are -24. It's not a good number.
Nope.
But 22 of those points came in week 1 against the Vikings. That was a bad game.
Yes.
The Giants have not looked like that team since that game. So it's not fair to throw it out because that game happened.
Still counts.
But in the last 3 games, they've had a -2 point differential.
Not only that,
That's it.
But the Vikings are also the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, the Vikings have a +57 point differential, which, to your point, Matt, I believe is tops in the league. Yes, it is, and it's not particularly close.
Yeah, and I mean, look at who they beat after they played the Giants. They beat the 49ers, who everyone seems to think is the best team in the NFC, at least going into the year they were. They destroyed the Texans 34-7, who the Texans, another, you know, playoff contender. Everyone thought was this team that was going to make a big jump. CJ Stroud year 2, and they shut them down. And then they went and beat the Packers yesterday, which the final score, they only won by 2. But this was a game where they were up, 28-0?
Yeah.
And, you know, they sort of took their foot off the gas, and then Green Bay mounted a huge comeback in the second half, which at the end of the day, they only ended up winning by 2, but that game was more lopsided than the final score entails. So the Vikings look like they could be the best, or if not one of the best teams in the NFL. And clearly going into week 1, no one expected them to be that because there were people that thought the Giants were going to win that game. And again, a loss is a loss, but that week 1 loss by the Giants doesn't look quite as bad now, seeing what the Vikings have done to other legit contenders over the last 3 weeks.
And now there's a loss to the Commanders, who are now 3-1. And
that's another
just
game
keep winning games.
And that Commanders game, again, we've spoken about it. That's another game that the Giants could have won.
And now, here's the thing, guys. We can sit here and say, yes, the team's improving. They're better than they were. And I think especially the offense, Matt, who last year they were basically 31st or 32nd in every advanced metric. Just to give you some examples, EPA per play right now, they're 22nd. DVOA, they are, again, this is another advanced metric for people that might not know it, they're 23rd. So is it where you want them to be? No, but you're not in that bottom quartile anymore, the bottom 5th of the league. So you're right at the bottom of the middle third right now in terms of where the league is in terms of numbers. So is it where you want to be? No, but there's certainly improvement. And in the offseason, I said this on the Saturday morning show on The Fan, I thought the Giants pretty clearly had 2 major goals. I'll say 3. 3 major goals, but I'll stick with the offensive ones for now. The defensive ones to improve the pass rush, and we'll get to that in a second. On offense, the 2 major goals, make the pass protection better, has been, be more explosive in the passing game. They have been. They're right in the middle of the league in terms of explosive plays. Want a little higher? Sure, but you're right in the middle of the league, and that's with, as you mentioned, Daniels had trouble hitting some of those deep balls this year, and that's not just a problem this week. First 3 weeks, a lot of overthrows. This week was a bunch of underthrows. You hit 2 or 3 more of those, you move up in the explosive play ranking. So again, you're not elite, you're not top 10, you're not even top 14, 15, but you're better from where you were last year. The frustrating part is that you're not translating that to victories in games that you had the opportunity to win. And this is still a win or loss record-based business, and Brian Dable has said that, the players have said that, and even though they're playing better, the quarterback is playing better, because he's being protected better and he has better weapons, you're not seeing it turn into victories. And I think that's the frustrating part of it. They've had some red zone issues on offense. I've not looked at their most recent red zone stats. I'll look that up right now. But that's been holding them back a little bit in terms of turning some of those, field goals into touchdowns. But that's the frustrating part here, Matt, because I think we are seeing legitimate progress on offense. They're better. It just hasn't turned into wins, which is, in the end, what really matters.
Yeah, I mean, look, that is all that matters at the end of the day, and everyone will tell you that. But just because the Giants have not won as many games as they or we would have hoped at this point, that doesn't mean you can't still take some positives out of how the team is performing. I think that's more important because it kind of shows the pieces that are here and will also be here moving forward in the future. The Giants have, I think, they have played the most rookie snaps of any team in the league.
They have. Giants are 22nd in red zone, by the way, 50%.
Yeah,
on offense.
The rookies have played the most snaps of any team across the NFL. At least that was the case going into this past week's game, and I don't see why that would have changed considering how much the rookies once again played. So the infrastructure is here for this team to take that next step, and obviously would love to see that happen starting this week. But even if it doesn't, as Dexter Lawrence said after the game, there are no such thing as pity wins, morale wins. Either you win the game or you lose. But at the same time, you can still take some things out of a loss that are positive and build on that. And if you continue to build on that, hopefully moving forward, these close losses turn into wins.
Yeah, look, I think that's what you have to hope. And we've seen the progress. It's gotten better. But eventually, especially if the two losses are against, they could be 2-0 in the division right now if they just figured out a way to do better at the end of those Commanders and Cowboys games. And, you can quibble about fourth downs here or there, but there were plays to be made late in both games. And you mentioned, as great as Malik Nabers has been, he has 2 fourth down potential conversions that he wasn't able to complete. Wan'Dale Robinson on the third down prior to the one against Dallas was a very tough catch. But I'm sure Malik would say, I should have held on to that ball. But again, very tough catch. Wan'Dale Robinson should have made the catch on the third down before that. I know, did his front arm get tugged a little bit? Sure. Did it get released and he have a chance to catch the ball with 2 hands? Yes. Darius Slayton, you talk about turning field goals into touchdowns. 3rd and 14. Ball gets put right in his gut, and he, to Darius's credit, on the postgame show, in the postgame locker room, he said, look, that's a drop, guys. I got to make that catch. And Daniel put it in the exact right spot. Couldn't come up with it. So, and even on the great play, and this is when I rewatched the game, on the first drive of the third quarter, the play before the 4th and 3, where a lot of fans wanted him to go for it, they kicked the field goal. They threw that little flat pass to Wan'Dale Robinson. Mm-hmm. This is one of those small execution things, guys. So the way they have that set up, and I believe Wan'Dale and Nabers were either in a stack or Nabers was outside and Wan'Dale was inside of him in the slot. Nabers is supposed to run a little stop route. That's supposed to screen Overshown as Wan'Dale goes out to the flat. He gets in his way a little bit. It's not an illegal pick. It's a rub route. He catches the ball, runs into the end zone. Nabers set his route, I'm trying to remember, I think a little bit too shallow, and it gave Overshown a good angle to not have to change direction, get around him. And then, my gosh, how fast is Demarion Overshown, by the way? That guy's shot out of a cannon. Yeah. It's unbelievable. He gets to the sideline, tackles him at the 3-yard line. Even if he gets 1 or 2 more yards and it's 4th and goal at the 1, that's a go for it, right? At the 3, you haven't run the ball all game. You can't run it. You have to throw it there. Much tougher conversion than a 4th and goal at the 1. So it's little execution things, drops, details on routes, things like that I think you get a couple of those things squared away. You turn more of these points. And the other one, too, DJ hits 1 or 2 of those, deep passes in any one of these weeks. He had a couple against Washington. He had a couple against Dallas. That can change the whole tenor of the game, too. So just 1 or 2. This isn't last year, guys, where we're going into these games and it's utter domination by the opponent. There were a lot of games last year. He walked out of it. Yeah, they could have made 4 more plays. It wouldn't have made a difference in this game. That's not what we're looking at here. A couple more plays in those 2 games, you could easily be 3-1. Does that matter? Not a damn bit. But that's where we are.
I was literally just about to say the same thing as your last point. I know going into week 5, the Giants are 1-3. They were 1-3 going into week 5 last year. this feels like a very different 1-3. Last year's 1-3, with the only win being that, historic comeback against the Cardinals in the second half, it didn't feel good.
What was week 5 last week? I'm trying to remember. Oh, I got it right here. Week 5 last week, they were going into the game at the Dolphins. Yes. Nobody had any sort of good feelings heading into that game at Miami last year.
And it was right after that Monday night game against the Seahawks at MetLife. Where
10 sacks? 9 sacks?
Yeah, 24-3.
Yeah, correct.
Again.
The bad interception at the goal line, all that stuff.
As you said, nobody wants to be 1-3. And no one's happy about being 1-3. But all we're saying is this 1-3, it just feels a lot different than last year's 1-3. This 1-3 feels like that this is a team that can still contend and compete and potentially win some games and get right back into the playoff hunt. Last year, it was hard to express any sort of confidence like that going into even week 5.
No, absolutely. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. Well, I said I wanted to do around the league stuff, but since we got a full bank of calls, let's get to you guys. If we have a little bit of a slowdown, Matt and I will go around the league a little bit. We've touched on a couple of these things already, but I don't want to leave you guys waiting for too long. Real quick, Giants Huddle podcast. We do not have the one up today yet. That's going to be, I believe, a Papa's Perspective should be going up there a little bit later. Pearson's too busy gallivanting with Eli Manning, I believe, this morning. He's, sitting pretty, just hanging out on the Eli Manning show. Life must be nice. We have Dom here sitting in for him, doing a good job. I don't know why you're grinning at me like that for. You're kind of freaking me out. But we will have that huddle up later on. Giants.com, Giants mobile app, the rapid reaction installed from last week. We gave everybody the weekend off. So we'll have huddles back with you for the remainder of this week. All right, 201-939-4513. Let's go to the phones and say what's up to Donnie in Queens to lead us off. Hi, Donnie.
Hey, guys. How are you? Happy Monday to you.
We're good.
The real reason I called was to kind of just go over the general state of the NFL.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Please.
Real quickly on Daniel. I mean, I can't. I don't want to hear the they didn't lose because of Daniel line again. Like that is such a low bar for the guy who was the 6th pick in the draft. He's paid now, highest paid player on the team. I believe he has the 6th highest cap hit in football.
But Donnie, don't.
I understand it's misleading a little bit, the numbers.
Thank you.
But I'm sorry, but it is true. This year, that's what he's costing them, right? So it's affecting the ability to put a team around him. And he's doing the same thing he's done his entire career. He's averaging 1 touchdown per game. And I guess that's actually a little bit of improvement because the other 5 years it's been less than that. The guy doesn't put the ball in the end zone. Everything requires perfection. Daniel Jones is just good enough to make you frustrated that they lost a close game and say, well, if they did this, this, and this, it requires too much perfection around him. Now,
I don't know if it requires perfection around him, Donnie. I'll just say this. In his last 3 games, 68%, 232 yards per games, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 96 quarterback rating. He's taken only 4 sacks.
Right. Yeah, that's solid. But even in the Cleveland game, right, in the second half, how many plays did he miss that? You said they could have been 3-1. They could have lost that game because of throws he missed. Right? Like the bar is supposed to be the highest for him, but because the criticism is so loud, sometimes I feel like there's another segment where the bar gets lowered for him too much.
No, Donnie, you're right. I think the extremes on him as a player are way too extreme on both ends. Yeah, I think that's fair.
He's just not good. He's good enough to get you fired kind of player. But we've talked about Daniel a million times. Speaking of stink, the NFL. Yesterday was my first day to really kind of sit down and watch the league as a whole. Yeah, I went to the opener. The Giants had played, in the last couple Sundays. Had to watch the Browns game on DVR. So I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, how many teams are like good? Like they have like good quarterbacks, good weapons, solid lines, solid defenses. I mean, even Dallas, like outside of Dak and CD and Parsons, like how much is there? What do the Bengals have outside of Burrow and the wideouts? Even the Chiefs, I mean, good defense for sure, definitely. Maybe haven't played the toughest schedule yet, but you look at these teams and it's like, where is all the talent in the NFL?
Chiefs have been hit hard with injuries too, Donnie. A lot of the things with the Chiefs, they're missing their starting running back and 2 of their top 3 wide receivers now due to injury. So,
the NFL has to figure something out with their preseasons. They're going to continue to add games and probably teams at some point in the future. I mean, I hate to say this because I'm starting to sound like Paul, and I'm probably I'm only 38 years old, but the product is just getting worse and worse and more watered down every year, and I'm addicted to it. I'll still keep buying it, but man, it is just really something.
Donnie, great call to lead off the show, and hang with us here. I want to have this conversation with you because I know you pay attention and you're a really smart football fan. And man, I want to get your take too. I've been thinking about this a lot, and we saw it start last year, and I think we're seeing it more this year. The league's becoming more of a defensive-oriented league now. Okay. I think that's the first thing we have to look at. The second thing we have to look at is I think, and this is something I think Tom Brady has sort of looked at a little bit, the way quarterbacks are coached up now, a lot of the stuff gets schemed up for them, and they don't have to do as much as I think some of those quarterbacks of like yesteryear had to do in terms of reading the whole field and doing those sorts of things. That's how they get quarterbacks on the field faster, right? You have to simplify it for them to get them on the field right away. And I think,
and just to add to your point, the college game, if you watch it, a lot of even like the major programs, they get to the line, the guy claps, and the entire team looks at the sideline for the play.
100%.
It's bad.
100%. And Donnie, and I think what we're getting to now is we've had a huge glut of quarterbacks retire over the past 5-6 years, right? That whole set of great quarterbacks from yesteryear are now all gone. We don't have the Mannings anymore. We don't have Brady. We don't have Breeze. We don't have Phillip Rivers. We don't have Ben Roethlisberger. We don't have Matt Ryan. I mean, how many Hall of Famers that I just mentioned?
There's no upper middle class.
Right, and if you look at it,
Eli of this era.
Right, and if you look at it, I'm going to go through 5 drafts with you guys real quick, starting in 2010. So those are the guys right now that kind of should be your 33 or 34-year-old quarterbacks, right? That should be like right in the prime and playing their best football. Well, the quarterbacks in 2010 that got drafted were Sam Bradford. He was the top overall pick. And then you had Tim Tebow, 25th overall that year. That was the 2010 NFL draft. 2011 NFL draft. Cam Newton, retired, right? Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder. Those are your first-round quarterbacks. None of them even in the league anymore. I think Blaine Gabbert might be hanging around still.
A backup.
I think he's still hanging around.
He's still in the league.
He's still in the league, correct. Andrew Luck, retired.
The fact that he's still in the league kind of proves your point.
Andrew Luck, retired. Robert Griffin III, retired. This is the next year. Brandon Weeden, first-round quarterback. That's the next year.
Ryan Tannehill.
So he's on quasi-retired, right? We don't know if he's going to come back. So no one from that draft class. Let's go to the 2013 draft class. You don't have a quarterback in that class go until pick number 16 when E.J. Manuel gets selected. How is that looking right now? And then I believe that was the Geno Smith year in round number 2, correct? So you get one quarterback out of that class. Let's go to the 2014 draft class. Guys, it's not going to get any better. Blake Bortles, 3rd overall that year. Then overall in that year, you had Johnny Manziel picked 22nd. I'm just going through this manually, so if I miss guys, I apologize. Teddy Bridgewater picked 32. So I just went through 5 draft classes in a row.
Derek Carr.
Was that Derek Carr that year too?
Second round.
So 5 draft classes in a row. I have 2 quarterbacks that are like still playing and starting for teams. Yeah. So you have a huge hole in that, 30 to 35-year-old quarterback window when quarterbacks kind of hit their peak now. Right? That's their peak now, age 30 to 34, with how they read the defenses and see things. Throw on top of that, and this is a long answer, I apologize, but the way NFL defenses are playing now, they do a lot of stuff post-snap to try to confuse quarterbacks, which will work better on young quarterbacks than older ones. You're playing a lot of 2 safeties deep. And Donnie, I think those are back maybe less to your preseason games, but the new practice restrictions, if teams tried to play NFL teams from the 1995 to 2005 era this way, they would run the ball 45 times a game with 330-pound offensive guards. They'd run for 220 yards, and teams would have to get out of this 2-deep safety stuff that they're showing now. Teams are not designed, nor do they practice enough with full contact to be good enough at that to take those teams out of 2-deep coverages the way they used to. I think that's the real crux of it. Combine that with everything else I said, Matt, and Donnie, we'll get back to you. That's why I think offensive NFL football looks as dismal as it does right now.
Well, yeah, just want to add one other quarterback.
Who do you have?
Russell Wilson.
Again.
He's in that
backup
era.
again.
Yeah. Well, That's a whole nother story, the Steelers quarterback situation. But yeah, I mean, we've seen the last, especially it feels like the last.
Oh, and by the way, I missed the year. Sorry, 2015. That's the Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota year. So throw a sixth season onto that list.
They're both still in the NFL.
Yes, but they're not starting.
That's true.
I found 2 starters in 6 years. That's
right.
crazy.
You're right.
Anyway, go ahead.
All I was gonna say is that maybe this, as you said, it started kind of last year, but the previous, however many years you want to call it, the NFL, it seemed like it turned into such a pass-heavy league. And we saw the running backs get affected by this. And, the running back market over the last 5 years or so has taken a big hit because everyone, started saying, oh, this is a pass-first league. Who needs a running back? They're all replaceable. Well, as we see in the NFL, anytime that there's a huge shift or emphasis on like one part of the game, the league adjusts, coaches adjust and start figuring out ways to counter whatever it is that's the new trend in the NFL. So as you said, defensive coaches have found ways to combat this heavy air yards, passing down the field offenses that we've seen around the league for however many years. And it's honestly, we're starting to go back to a run first NFL where running backs are, you look at the top running backs compared to the top wide receivers this year, the running backs have been better. And besides a couple of players, it's frankly not even close.
And of course, it comes down with running backs being successful, good offensive line play.
For sure. Mm-hmm. So this is one of these things, the constant changing trends of the NFL where we're starting to see a shift back towards a, run first style of offense.
I agree. Donnie, what do you got?
Teams have also inflated what they pay quarterbacks.
That too.
It's like if your quarterback is up, well, I guess I got to pay him the next amount of money. I mean, has Trevor Lawrence earned his pay? I mean, you could go down the list. So there's a lot of and look.
And Donnie, wide receivers too, by the way. I think generally the guys at the top of the salary structure, their salaries keep going up. So once you pay a couple of these stars, to your point with Dallas, right, it's going to be hard to fill in a roster around them.
Correct. So unless you really have a true difference maker at that position, you're already seeing it with Hurts. His play is kind of tailing off in Philly as the team around him is getting slightly better, going downhill a little bit. They've had some injuries for sure. But it makes it almost impossible to field a complete team where it's almost like unless you really have one of the top 8 to 10 guys in the league, you're almost better off looking for bargains at that position. Look what Sam Darnold's doing. I don't necessarily believe Sam Darnold is this caliber of player, but he's getting great coaching. He's a little experienced now, and the talent around him is better. So just a really tough product to kind of watch, and an overexposed one at that. So that's just kind of where I'm at 4 games in. Let's pray to God they beat Seattle next week because, the way the league is, anybody can really beat anybody.
Yeah, they can.
On a given Sunday. I mean, the Broncos absolutely stink. I don't know how they beat the Jets yesterday. I mean, just a totally it must be something about MetLife Stadium.
And Donnie, the Broncos have won 2 straight games now.
They beat Tampa Bay.
Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate the call.
They knocked me out of my survivor pool.
Yeah, I obviously we can't do those survivor pools, but I mean, my brother does, and he said it was an absolute bloodbath in those first 2 weeks with the Raiders beating the Ravens and then the Patriots beating who'd they beat in week 1? Cincinnati.
Bengals.
And then
the Broncos beating the Bucs last week.
Yeah, I mean, to his point, I was going back and watching some Seattle stuff today. They had to have a comeback win in overtime against the Patriots in week 2. Now, I believe that was in New England, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, it was.
Still, Donnie's right. In this league, the way it is now, you make 1 or 2 plays, or don't make 1 or 2 plays, as the Giants have shown in 2 out of the last 3 games, any team can beat or lose to any other team in this league.
Yeah, he's right. And just because he brought this one player up, I just very quickly want to point out Jalen Hurts yesterday playing with no top receivers, his 2 top receivers gone, a not that great offensive line.
Lane Johnson was out.
Lane Johnson's out, so which obviously he's one of their best, if not their best lineman.
What did he do?
He completed 60% of his passes, 158 yards, 1 touchdown.
And Saquon,
I was going to say, no top receivers, a not that great offensive line, and Saquon Barkley in the backfield, and look how he did.
And Saquon, by the way, his numbers will look good yesterday. Almost all his yards came on that one long run that he had. Other than that, he did not run the ball consistently.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is just look at what Jalen Hurts did this obviously it's only one game, but what he did in a situation that Daniel Jones has been in for a lot of the last couple of years. I'm just saying.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we're really to the point now where, I'm with you. I just think it's a much more defensive-oriented league and kind of how everything's going now. All right, let's go to Dan in the Poconos. He's up next. Hi, Dan.
Hey, fellas. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just have a couple of quick comments. I wanted and I was hoping Paul would be on this today, but because I have something to say about what he said.
Well, Paul's on Friday next, Dan, so feel free to. I will let you dial up for the second time if you want to yell at Paul on Friday. You'll be on with him and Citak Friday. You can yell at Paul. I look forward to that.
No, he'll just yell at me more than I'll yell at him.
Sounds like great radio to me, Dan.
Well, what I had a little problem with digesting is, he said that my two problems about the game was, and I agree with what Matt said about Jones, his performance, but you didn't use the word. Paul actually said Jones's performance was sensational. That was his exact word. Now, I know everyone on the planet knows it wasn't sensational.
Now, Dan,
it was sensational if the guy, if the guy's standing 10 feet in front of him.
Now, Dan, real quick,
in front of him.
Did you listen to the show itself, or did you listen to that misleading clip that got posted on social media?
No, I don't listen to social media.
Okay, good.
I only listen to the show.
And Dan, the only reason I asked that is that somebody took, and this really, I really tried hard not to respond on Twitter on Saturday, and I didn't. I was very proud of myself. So someone posted up after the Friday show, Dan, and then we'll let you continue. We opened the Friday show. The first 4 or 5 minutes of the show talked about the missed opportunities in the first half of that game. The missed deep throws, the illegal shift penalty on the deep throw to Tracy, the Slayton underthrow, the neighbor's slight underthrow, which then he couldn't score the touchdown, which he might not have anyway. The safety had an angle on the play. But that was the first 3 minutes of the show. Then I take a breath and I say, but in the second half, I thought Daniel was spectacular. He made all his throws. He was accurate. And if it wasn't for the drops in the second half, they probably would have won the game. And that's when Paul jumped in and said, yes, he was sensational, Dan. So I think Paul specifically, and of course when they posted the clip on social media, they just started when I said and in the second half. They left out the first 3 minutes of the show when I was critical of the bad throw. So everyone starts yelling at me. I muted the conversation. I don't know how bad it got.
People be misleading?
I know.
On social media?
And actually posting things out of context, ridiculous. I know. No way. So I think, Dan, I'd have to go back and listen to the exact time he said it. I think when he used that word sensational, I think he was specifically referring to him in the second half. If you remember, in the first half was when all those inaccurate deep throws happened. So I think that's when he said it in defense of Paul, but I would have to go back and double check that.
Yeah, I think you're right about that because he did point out, and I think you were on with him, right?
Yes, I was on with him Friday, yep.
Yeah, I think you guys did point out, the underthrows rather than the overthrows that were going on. So it wasn't all, you weren't all. I just thought Paul, I didn't know if Paul was drinking that Kool-Aid too much over there, and I was like, Paul, come on, man, let's be, what do you call it? I'm a little lost for words. But my other point is, because I'm not really going to bash Daniel, because I've always, he's our quarterback, so, it is what it is. But the other thing he said, and I have such a problem with Coach Dable. And I thought, all those plays, there were so many of them. And thank God Lance isn't on because he'd be pushing me for specifics. And because I can't be specific now. But, I mean, how many plays, that he called on third down? And, there were just so many bad, before the sticks, and just the play calling I thought was just horrendous. And that was another thing that he said, that he thought he did a great job with the play calling. And I'm like, come on, Paul.
Well, Dan, I'll say this. Remember, it was the Dable's call on a 3rd and short stop and go to Neighbors that Booth jumped on because he thought on a 3rd and short they're going to throw the quick stop route, right, to get the 3rd and short first down. He calls a stop and go. That's your deep ball to Neighbors in the first half. In the second half, he calls that fake wide receiver screen to Neighbors. You release Tracy down the sidelines. If Theo Johnson doesn't commit the illegal shift penalty and Daniel doesn't leave him too far out of bounds, that could have been a deep play down the sideline too. So I actually praised Dable's play calling in the game too, because I thought specifically those two plays, you timed up calls to catch the defense to create explosives in those spots, which I thought was, frankly, good play calling. to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And I honestly agree with John on this one. I thought Dable called a pretty good game. I mean,
And also a fairly aggressive game.
and you didn't even bring up the one play where, it resulted in Malik catching it and it got them in the first and goal on the 10-yard line situation. Malik was lined up as a running back
in the backfield, yeah.
Which created a mismatch, and I forgot who ended up on coverage with him.
A linebacker,
Which you would take Malik Neighbors with a linebacker guarding him in coverage 100 times out of 100 times, without a doubt. That was just one play that really, stuck out to me. So I agree with John, and honestly, just, you can't take what is said on Twitter too seriously, but I mean, I was looking throughout the game at what, national reporters were saying. They seem to agree as well that Dable really did call a good game.
Now, Dan, you're right. At times in the game against Dallas, did they throw short of the sticks on third down and then try to rely and run after the catch afterwards? Yeah, and Dable was actually asked that in the post-game press conference. He goes, yeah, that's a part of our offense. We want to get guys on the move, let them catch the ball, and then run after catch. But generally speaking, and I looked this up. I think I looked this up on Friday's show. Jones's throw beyond the sticks percentage was actually pretty high in the game. He threw beyond the sticks a lot on second down in the game, and they converted a lot of those on some of those deep in cuts that they ran. But were there some of those plays on third down where they threw in front of the sticks and expected some run after the catch to get the first down? Yes, that did happen. No argument there. That's fair.
Well, you guys obviously know a hell of a lot more than I do. So.
No, Dan, good call.
Anyway.
All fair.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank
you too.
You too.
But you're right. And I know throwing in front of the sticks does frustrate fans sometimes, but you set up Wan'Dale Robinson in space to catch and run. So you are going to have plays like that. I understand it's frustrating. But remember, when teams are running that two safety deep stuff, sometimes you can't get it down the field, and you have to rely on the short pass and the run after the catch to get some of those first downs.
Yeah, and honestly, you don't want to rely on that every single passing play. But,
of course.
But Wan'Dale Robinson is, I think, one of the shiftiest players maybe in the league. He is very good with the ball in his hands. He's not going to, make 1, 2, 3 guys miss every single time the ball touches his hands. But him with one defender in the open field, I like his chances at being able to break at least one tackle to pick up an extra yard or two.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't hate that at all. Obviously, again, you don't want to do that every single play, but sometimes, yeah, I'll take Wan'Dale Robinson with one defender in front of him in the open field. I'll take my chances on that.
So PFF tracks percentage of throws that go past the first down marker, and just in week 4 alone, among all NFL quarterbacks, Daniel Jones was 16th. So he was right in the middle of the league at 37%. So that's where he landed. Right, actually a little bit probably. I don't know how many quarterbacks qualified because you still have 2 games last night. So he was 16 out of 28. So he was a little bit past right in the middle there. That's a minimum of 10 dropbacks in terms of how you sort that out. Just to give you an example, these were the guys on the bottom of the list: Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. Those were 5 out of the bottom 7 players in that metric in terms of throwing beyond the sticks. Just giving you the numbers. 201-939-4513. Let's go to Marcus in South Jersey. He's up next. Hi, Marcus.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Great, Marcus. What do you got?
Long-time Giants fans. I got a couple comments and then a statement.
Sure.
I heard the last caller just talking about the ball, Coach Ball. The offensive play calling's been getting better. It seems like he's starting to trust the players more. The biggest issue I've had, and I was watching with the ticket over the weekend, you saw guys like Andy Dalton, let's say not as mobile as Daniel Jones. When they got inside, as Coughlin called it, the green zone, you saw innovativeness. I saw them spread out 4 or 5 wide. You didn't know if there's going to be a quarterback draw. You didn't know if there's going to be a receiver getting it on the end around. It opened up. In 22 at Daniel Jones, we saw a lot of the rollouts. We saw Saquon, scatting out of the backfield, and Jones rolling to the right, and Saquon pop out, quick touchdown. You go to the Redskins game with Commanders, we didn't have none of that on the 2-point conversions. We didn't have none of that when we could have used it when we went, 5 for 5 with field goals. So I'm just wondering what you guys think about that green zone play calling and using our strengths. And then the other comment that I had is the defense. It looked pretty vanilla again. I mean, Cleveland. I mean, what a game from the defensive coordinator. And then last week it went back to predictability. And I've been, I didn't play long, but I played in the college, and I know that week-to-week game plan is great. When the other coaches don't know what you're doing. And I just kind of feel like maybe Coach DeBall is losing confidence in certain players. And then I'm going to go to the elephant in the room, Jalen Hyatt. Can the kid get in? He dropped one pass the first game. Slayton's dropped critical passes. What is it going to take for Jalen Hyatt to play?
Which one do you want to take those, Matt?
I'll take the Jalen Hyatt one.
Good.
I think it is, it's clear that the Giants coaching staff has right now just more confidence in Darius Slayton. I mean, it's going to be tough for Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt to both be on the field at the same time, especially with Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson in the mix as well. And look, the Giants, the coaching staff, everyone's trying to win games here. If the coaching staff thought that Jalen Hyatt gave the team a better chance and the offense a better chance to succeed and win, trust me, he would be out there over Darius Slayton. Right now, the coaching staff has more confidence in Darius Slayton, which that shouldn't be that shocking. Darius Slayton is in his 6th year in the league, has been the most consistent receiver on this team for half a decade. Like, it's not that surprising to me.
But he consistently drops 5 balls a game.
Well, it isn't that many a game, but look, has Darius Slayton had some issues with drops?
For sure.
No question, but I think, Marcus, they probably have a little bit more confidence, and I think Daniel probably has a little bit more confidence in him running the full route tree and being on time with everything he's supposed to do than the young receiver. Would I be shocked if we saw Hyatt get put in a little bit more moving forward? Sure, but I think what Matt said is right, and you might disagree with it, and that's fine. I totally get where you're coming from on it. Right now, they have more confidence in Slayton to do what they need to do in the offense than I think Hyatt. And again, that's not necessarily. Darius Slayton actually spoke. Darius Slayton was asked this question by the media today. I thought he gave a great answer. He was on a conference call at the media, and they asked him, like, have you? Because, if you remember Slayton a couple years ago, remember he started the season, he barely played the first couple weeks, and he worked his way back in, and he played a lot. Yeah,
inactive week 1.
Correct. So they asked him, have you talked to Hyatt? Have you had a conversation with him about this? And he goes, look, I have, and what I said to him is that even though you're not playing, that's not necessarily a reflection of what they think of you as a football player. And he said, for teams, especially this one this year, where we have a lot of talent at certain positions, some guys just aren't going to play as much, and that doesn't mean that you're bad or you're doing something wrong or they don't like you. It just means you're in a tough spot in a numbers game perspective to get on the field. So I understand it's frustrating for fans, Marcus. I think that's how they look at it.
How about 4 wideouts, putting Slayton Hyatt in the game at the same time, spreading that out? I mean, there's got to be some looks where you can get Hyatt in the game, and let's see what the kid can do.
Not fair question. And Marcus,
Pat Shermer's offense, when Daniel played the best, we didn't have anything like we have in.
Yeah, Marcus, and honestly, heading into the year, I thought we'd see more 4 wideout stuff. We haven't seen a ton of that yet.
You guys talked about that.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a ton of that yet. So we'll see. Maybe as they gain more confidence in this offensive line, and they feel like they can go with some lighter personnel, and I think maybe that's coming. But I think they've liked what they've seen from the multiple tight ends. The whole conversation we had with the state of the league trying to run the ball more, trying to get Manhurts out there. He's a good blocker. You run play action off of that. Daniel's had some success running play action off of those double tight end sets. So there's a balance there. I'd love to see Hyatt get a chance to make some more big plays. I think right now he's just caught in a numbers game.
Hey, you guys are great. Faith, family, and football. I mean, I really do believe this team comes together. The Chiefs, had that answer. The Eagles, when they won, I think that's what this team is missing. Just to have some faith and growing and coach the ball. And I'll close. You guys are awesome. He's got to coach like his pants are on fire. And I think he should throw everything out there. And that's what he did with Josh Allen. You guys are great. God bless, and keep forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Marcus. Great call. Thank you for calling in, man. Good stuff. I forgot what his first 2 points were. Yeah, I was going to comment on it, but just it's fine.
To wrap up the Hyatt thing, everything I said, as Darius Slayton also said today, things change in the NFL very quickly.
Correct.
There could be one injury, and then all of a sudden Jalen Hyatt is on the field playing almost every snap. Things can change. Jalen Hyatt needs to stay ready because he will most likely get an opportunity at some point. So if he stays ready, when that opportunity comes, if he takes advantage, that's earning more playing time, and then we will see him out on the field more. So just because it's 4 games in and Hyatt has not played much up to this point doesn't mean that's going to be necessarily the case for the next 13 games.
Have you been blacked out of the Mets game here?
It's the only channel that's not working. I'm not happy about it, but...
Dom, have you done the Sabatucci?
Dom's been trying. I appreciate the effort.
Sabatucci from Dom. Dom, you're a Yankees fan, right? You're a Yankees guy? Yes.
Instead, I got ESPN Gamecast up on my computer.
What do we got, 0-0 still?
0-0.
All right.
Game just bottom of the first.
These games are in Atlanta, correct?
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, not the best. Hi, Wilson. How are you?
Hey, Johnny, Matt, how are you?
We're good, man.
Hey, Johnny, listen. I'm gonna tell you something today. Today will be the last time I talk about Brian Dable, because I'm gonna take a different approach to the season. I'm gonna look at it like a win-win situation, and I'll tell you what. But before that, I wanna tell Matt something he just told.
Okay, and Wilson, here's what I'm gonna do. You say your piece on Dable. You said this will be the last time you do it. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Say your piece. And then we'll move on from it, okay? Does that sound fair?
Yeah, sounds fair.
Okay.
The piece is this. If the Giants somehow give me a season, because it looks like, our season's, my football season's over before October. But if somehow they give me a season and the Giants make the playoffs, I'll be happy. And I'll say, I'm wrong about Brian Dable. And I'll cheer because I'm a Giants fan for over 45 years. If they don't make the playoffs, I think he's gone, and I'll be happy too because I don't think he's a good head coach. So look at it that way. It's a win-win situation for me because there's nothing else to say because I keep saying it over and over and over, and everybody says different stuff about it, and everybody has their own opinion. But that's that. And what Matt just said to me, Matt. I understand, but how many more years you want Giants fans like myself to look for improvement? I mean, we've been improving for 15 years with a couple of good seasons sprinkled in.
In fairness, Wilson, there wasn't any improvement last year. There was zero improvement last year.
Johnny, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So I understand that you want to look for silver linings, but let me ask you something, Matt, real quick, and I know answer me as truthfully as you can.
Okay.
Forget about the Giants. If I tell you that in 29 games, a team goes 7 wins, 21 losses, and 1 tie, would you consider that an improvement if you look at it basically 2 seasons? Will that be an improvement? Will people that you just tell somebody, listen, this team went 7-21 and 1. You think they're improving? What would you say?
That alone in a vacuum, 7-21 and 1, obviously, no.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for answering that because I want to, and I just feel like I'm just coming off like I don't like Brian Dable. I do like Brian Dable, but just the fact, I guess I'm a little upset about is this that I understand Daniel Jones is not a top 10 quarterback. But I've seen some quarterback play this year. I've seen I just happened to watch a lot of football this weekend. I mean, I'll take Daniel Jones over Kyler Murray 7 days out of the week. Kyler Murray plays with no heart. He doesn't want to get hit. Daniel Jones to me is one of the toughest guys in the NFL. And yet Daniel Jones gets killed because he missed a couple of throws. What about the other 29 completions that he made? He had the Giants at the 3-yard line and the second half with a chance to take the lead. It's not his fault that Brian Dable kicks a field goal. So I understand he's not an elite quarterback, and I understand that he missed a couple of throws. But I've seen Andy Dalton play this weekend. I've seen Trevor Lawrence play. I mean, they're all about the same, man. I mean, you take maybe the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, and it's like an Applebee's menu. You get a couple of different things here and there. By 90%, it's the same player. So it's just crazy to me. Like I had to hear, you know what I had to hear this weekend over the radio, Johnny Ricker, before I go. I heard that Brian Dable can't run his offense because Daniel Jones is not Josh Allen. Now, I mean, that is just crazy.
No. And Wilson, appreciate the call. I don't think that's true. I think Brian Dable's running his offense the way he wants to run it at this point. Last year, could he run his offense the way he wanted to with that offensive line?
Nope.
No, sirree, Bob. Now, I think Brian Dable can do whatever the hell he wants, and he's good with it. So I don't buy that. All right, Coach Marvin and Delaware, I want to make sure I give you your 5 minutes so we don't run out of time for you, Coach. What do you got?
President John and Matt.
Hey.
I was just to listen to Wilson talk, and him and Charlie, they have some good points. I think they go a little bit over and beyond than they need to go.
That's why we love them, Coach. Sometimes they go a little too far, but at least they entertain us along the way. It's okay.
Yeah, they make some good points, but both sides can be true, and both sides can have truth to it. Dable may make some decisions. Coaches make decisions people don't like. I mean, it's very easy to sit in the back in the stands and criticize somebody on the field that's in the moment, that's making a do-or-die decision. And
look, I'll be Coach Marvin, and I said this last week. At that 4th and 3, my initial reaction was kick the field goal. Paul convinced me on the post-game show that maybe I was wrong, and I'm open to that, and I probably right now I would go for it in that situation. Yeah. But considering how they could not run the ball at all, 4th and 3, you have to pass it. You get one chance to get it in. I didn't feel great about it.
I felt okay with it because when they kicked the field goal, I think they got down by 2.
Yeah, they made it 15-13, right? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. So my thinking is, okay,
15-12?
It's getting tough. It's getting tough to get down here. If I go for it and don't make it, you always got to weigh both sides when you're coaching. What if I go for it and I don't get it? What's the consequences then? So you're saying you're trying to take the best measurements of those. Okay, if I get the points now, maybe we can stop them on defense, and then I don't have to score a touchdown. I can win it with a field goal. So your thinking is going back and forth, and you're weighing each thing. Everybody's not going to come out with the same answer. But guess what? Your thinking don't matter. If you're Dable, I don't care if you're sitting in the last seat in the stadium and you don't agree with me. Your check is not on the line. Mine is. And I'm not going to listen to you to get myself paid. So I make decisions based on what I feel because this is my shit. I'm the one steering it. And that's the way Dable has to do it that way.
Sure.
So I understand their criticism because I faced it. Not on that same level, but guess what? It's just as equal me getting it from parents telling me who should play and who shouldn't play. So I got it in different ways, and it was personal at me, in my face.
Yeah.
Dable don't get it in his face. He hear about it, but he don't get it, the actual person talking to him. These people was talking to me. And it's like, no, I'm not going to. You get a team and then show me what you're talking about. And that's the way I took it. But I know I only got a few minutes here. About Daniel. Daniel played well. It wasn't outstanding. But I liked some of his accuracy, but I think he's accurate, but ball placement was one of the things I wanted him to do, and the ball placement wasn't good.
No, I think that's fair.
The free play has to be a touchdown. It has to. Some reason he lollipopped it. I don't know why.
Coach, I think the two that bothered me the most was that one that you just mentioned. The other one, now it wouldn't matter because they had the illegal shift on the play, but the one where he had Tracy going down the sideline and he kind of let him too far out of bounds.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was upset at that pass. Even if it wouldn't count, make the pass anyway.
Correct.
The play to Neighbors, and when he first made the move, that ball should have been a straight line right to him so he can run with it.
Now, I will say this, Coach. He's so open. I want to make sure I don't overthrow him. So, right, but I still think he underthrew him a little bit too much. I'm with you on that.
Yes, you're right. He didn't want to miss him, and that's why he threw it that way. Then there was a shallow route that was by Wandell, and Wandell dropped it because he threw it behind him. He should have caught it, but he threw it behind him. He should have threw that ball in stride, and he did the same thing to Neighbors on a shallow where Neighbors caught it. It was thrown behind him, and the linebacker caught him before he could get a first down. So it was a lot of his ball placement.
That's fair.
I think he needs to. It needs to improve.
No, I agree with that.
To do better with that.
I think that's fair.
And the thing I did mention the receivers, I still think Hyatt must not be doing something in practice. Because I always used to say, show me in practice, then if they show me something in practice, I tell my coordinators, we need to find a way to get him in the game. And something is going on that if he's not getting in, yes, he's a fourth receiver, but they've been practicing, and he's not practicing well enough to get more snaps than he getting. That's surprising. Maybe it was what you said, John. Maybe the route running is not that good. Maybe he's a straight line runner. Maybe that's why he's not getting in. I don't know. I'm not at the practice. But if he wants to get in the field, he's going to have to practice harder.
Thank you, Coach.
That's all I have, guys.
Appreciate it. Always good to hear from you.
Thanks, Coach.
Final thoughts, or you just want to go try to find the Mets game?
I think I said everything I had to say today.
Mets. That's what I thought. Good job, Citak.
Thank you.
And good luck today.
Appreciate it. I have not the bats.
Yeah,
not
you
good.
do not have any confidence at all right now. It is bad vibes coming out of that Citak right now.
Not in game one. I'm going to be honest. This pitcher that we're facing shut us down last week, and so far is doing the same through 2 innings. When we get to game 2, I have a little more confidence in that. But
are the Braves starting like their starting batting lineup that's in there? The Braves have most of their starters in there?
Yeah, because they need to win one of these games to make the playoffs. So if they win the first game, they will probably rest all their key players in the second game, which is why I have a little more confidence in game 2.
Have the conspiracy theorists been out that they should just like cut a deal where each team allows the other to win one game so they both get what they want?
I mean, the conspiracy theorist, yes, but unfortunately,
no. I know that's not how it works, obviously. But have people been like suggesting that though?
I've seen people suggest that if the Braves win the first game, they should just formally forfeit the second game, so no one even has to play it.
Like there wasn't like
I don't think MLB will let that happen.
Wasn't there a game at the end of an NFL season where they went into overtime, and if there was a tie, both teams made the playoffs, right?
It was the Raiders Chargers.
Thank you. It was Raiders Chargers, right?
The Chargers thought the Raiders were going to take a knee, and then they didn't. They drove down and scored.
Yeah. That's right. I thought I remembered that game. Well, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
And hopefully, by the way, I have as little confidence in the Yankees winning playoff rounds as you do in the Mets winning today.
At
so
least
don't worry
the Yankees
about it.
are already in the ALDS.
Yeah, but now that it's Don well knows, now that they're in the playoffs, the bats go to sleep and they're going to score like 2 runs per game. And unless Soto and Judge hit home runs, they're going to score 0 runs in every game. And that's pretty much how it's going to go for them.
Soto and Judge do hit a lot of home runs.
They do that. That is correct. Tomorrow it'll be Madeline O'Hara. Wednesday, I believe it is Madeline Citak. Are you with Madeline on Wednesday?
Told me Thursday and Friday.
Okay, so who's with Madeline on Wednesday? I don't remember. She's with somebody on Wednesday. I do have her 2 days in a row. I don't remember who the second day is, but it's somebody. Maybe it's me. I don't know. You think it's me? Could be. I'm running out of people. So anyway, tomorrow it's Madeline O'Hara. That sounds like a good name, Madeline O'Hara, right? It's Madeline and Sean O'Hara tomorrow. Madeline Burke and Sean O'Hara. 12:30, Big Blue Kickoff Live on Tuesday. We'll see you then, everybody. Have a great Monday night.